Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
translation system you use?
You have to ask how many don't speak.
Koliko ne zna engleski? Koliko ima da treba prevod? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Može najbolje da sedite onda pored prevodioca. Maybe it's best that they sit around the translator, then you can speak freely, is it? And they can... I think it's... Now the translator is not there, so I hope that he's coming. Because I did not arrange for that.
You did not arrange what?
But I can translate it if nobody's...
There's no translator.
Usually they send one, but the translator is not here. I will start.
No translation. He will translate. You will translate?
Yeah, there's no one. So.
You know how to translate?
Yes, I translated Prabhupada's books.
You translated what?
I translated Prabhupada's books. I hope I will not deviate from the Siddhanta.
So I have to get into the Serbian camp mood. My dear devotees, welcome to our seminar on one topic which is taken, of course, from the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam and narrated in Srila Prabhupada's Krishna book, Subduing Kaliya, the Kaliya snake. We did my voice together. We have a little liquids in the water. So before we begin with the actual story, I would like to recite one verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam 11th canto, which explains the importance of hearing Krishna Katha in order to purify our heart. So I will quote that verse. Can we fix this? Okay. That verse. The nectar-giving rivers of discussions about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and also the holy rivers generated from the bathing of the Lord's lotus feet, are able to destroy all contamination within the three worlds. Those who are striving for purification associate with the holy narrations of the Lord's glories by hearing them attentively, and they associate with the holy rivers flowing from His lotus feet by physically bathing in them. So in the purport of that particular verse from the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is also explained that there are different types. Hare Krishna. There are different. Would be nice if you could sit down and then you can concentrate. Please sit down, sit down. Thank you. See? Who has more intelligence? Who has more intelligence? Srila Prabhupada explains that there are different types of Sharinamrita, nectarian rivers. Krishna Katha is one, we just heard about it. Then the Sharinamrita from the lotus feet of the deities. And of course the actual holy rivers like Gora, Jamuna and so many other holy rivers. And we can see Srila Prabhupada gave us daily the Sharinamrita of the devotees, of the deities, sorry, and Srimad Bhagavatam on a regular basis. So now we begin to hear the story about Kaliya, and of course some additional informations from the commentaries of various Vaishnava acharyas. As you know, Srila Bhaktivaibhava Thakur, which the disappearance day we celebrate today, he explained the different anarthas connected with the demons who were entered Vrindavan in order to kill Lord Krishna. And one of those is this Kaliya snake. And he explains Kaliya represents brutal cruelty, maliciousness, pride, envy, and a snake-like crookedness. He particularly tries to pour his poison into the hearts of innocent Vaishnavas, which Krishna cannot tolerate. So then the Lord kills him. According to the Garga Samhita, in his previous life, Kaliya, this happened during the Manvantara of the Swayambhuva Manu. He was a great sage named Vedasira, who was cursed for not allowing the sage Asvasira to meditate in his ashram. You are angry for no reason, you hiss just like a snake, become a snake. It has happened often in the past. Some angry sage cursed another one, then he counter-cursed that sage. Then they both had to take birth in lower species. This happened a lot. So here we have another example, become a snake. Then Lord Vishnu appeared and told him that he would place his lotus feet on his head in that particular lifetime. Then Vedasira took birth with the first generation of great snakes to appear in the universe. This happened from Daksha's daughter, Kadru, that generation of snakes. So Kaliya took birth in that first generation. So now we go to the actual story. Lord Krishna told his cowherd boy friends, the cowherd boys, "Come Shridam, Subal and Ujjvala, let us take the cows to the sandy banks of the Jamuna. There they can graze on the soft grasses there, and we can enjoy sporting together." Then all the boys replied, "Yes, let us go immediately." Little challenging to read this when I look outside, the sunny weather, should also go to the shore. When Krishna arrived on the sandy banks of the Jamuna, suddenly all his friends and the cows simultaneously felt overwhelmed with thirst and ran to the river to drink. But immediately after taking a few small sips of water, they all dropped dead, seemingly dead. Now Sanatana Goswami, he gives a comment on this particular point. They were very thirsty, so they all drank at once and manifested symptoms of poisoning simultaneously. Otherwise, those who did not drink initially would have seen the effects and not drunk. Now Krishna speaks. "Oh, my pure devotees, they have become lifeless." Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments on this particular point. Lifeless means that with his yoga maya potency he covered their life errors. Otherwise the cowherd boys are eternal. They all have spiritual bodies, so there's no question of them dying. Sanatana Goswami also comments on this point. Krishna could have brought ordinary devotees back to life by his desire, but because they were very special devotees, he gave them his special glance, which is like a shower of nectar. This reminds me of one class Srila Prabhupada gave. And he talked about Srimati Radharani's mercy by explaining that when she sees the sincerity of a particular devotee, she immediately runs to Krishna and tells Lord Krishna, see there's such a sincere soul, please give your mercy. And then Krishna begins to glance over that devotee. And then in that class, Srila Prabhupada said, this is our perfection. All we are asking for is to get Lord Krishna's glance. This is all we want. That's the perfection. Now Subal speaks. He's the first one who got up after being so-called dead, covered by Yogamaya. He gets up and he speaks. Oh, what happened? Just a moment ago we were all dead. Sridham speaks. Perhaps some brahmana came and quickly chanted some mystical mantras or applied some magical herbs. You just see how Yoga Maya works. Rather understanding immediately that this was Krishna. No, Krishna is our friend. How would that be possible for Krishna? So they think in this way. Perhaps some powerful brahmana came and chanted some mystical mantras. This is why we came back to life. Then all the boys replied, yes, that must be what happened. There's no other possible solution. Sanatana Goswami comments on this point. The boys came to this conclusion despite the lack of obvious evidence. This is a clear symptom that they're all Mahabhagavata devotees of the Lord. They do not recognize any other cause for their good fortune than Krishna. Now Krishna speaks. Just see how the waters of the Jamuna have become so polluted. Yamuna Mai is so dear to me, I cannot allow this to happen. I must do something to purify her of this horrible contamination. This has been caused by the great snake Kaliya. I must teach him a lesson. Narrator. Krishna then climbed a large kadamba tree on the bank of the Jamuna and went out on a large branch which extended over the river's waters. Srila Swami comments, in another Purana, there's an account of Garuda placing some nectar on the root of this particular tree. Therefore, it has survived the poison. And then Krishna tightened his belt, dived headfirst into the moving river and swam towards Kaliya. Now Subal speaks. Oh Krishna, what are you doing? How can you challenge this great monster? Sridham speaks. Oh my Lord, how can you, whose body is so delicate and tender, possibly defeat the snake? Tender reminds me, there's one description. Lord Krishna's body was so tender when he was a small boy that when a leaf of a tree fell on the skin of Krishna and fell off, you could see the mark remaining for some time. Such a tender, transcendental skin Lord Krishna has. Ujjvala speaks. Just see, now the serpent is with anger crushing Krishna in his coils. He's unable to move, as if paralyzed. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments on this point. The Lord became momentarily as fearful and stunned in order to encourage Kaliya. Alternatively, he may have been thinking, "Oh Kaliya, you may at first go ahead and bite as you will and envelop me, but later on I will show you my strength." There are different interpretations how this could be understood. Sanatana Goswami comments on this point. According to my perception, Kaliya's biting the Lord should be understood as his heartily kissing the Lord's limbs, and his covering him with his snake's body should be understood as his firmly embracing all the Lord's limbs. Therefore, with anger means as if with anger, but actually it is with pure love. Therefore the Lord is about to show him great mercy, and Krishna's appearing stunned is because the Lord is stunned in the ecstasy of being embraced by him with great love. To see how, what amazing understandings, realizations, visions these great, great devotees, pure devotees of Lord Krishna have. So interesting to hear the different interpretations of the Vaishnavacharyas. Sridhar Swami comments, actually we can understand that Kaliya must have been living there for many yugas. Sanatana Goswami comments, yes, the lake's contamination was so great that it could not have happened over a short time. According to the Garga Samhita, in his past life, Duni Manvantara Swayambhuva Manu, at the beginning of the creation, he was a sage named Vedasira. I already told that story. So that's from Sanatana Goswami. He gives the story of Kaliya's previous life. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments, we can understand that the lake, which was 8 miles wide, was situated away from the main part of the Jamuna, where the water was flowing. Otherwise, the poison would have been mixed with the moving water and poisoned the entire city of Mathura. It's pretty loud. Maybe somebody can check this a little bit. Sridhar Swami comments, the poison was so strong that the Jamuna water had been brought to a boiling point, and therefore there was a strong vapor rising which was also very poisonous, and any birds flying overhead would immediately die. The poison was so strong that around the entire boundary of the lake, going back a distance of 8 miles, there was nothing left alive, just from the vapors carried by the wind. When Krishna jumped in Kaliya, jumped into the waters, then Kaliya did not see him. Yeah, obviously Krishna disappeared. Because it was some distance away, but he heard the sound. Actually, Kaliya did not have any ears, but he heard the sound through his eyes. Very interesting. Therefore, he is known as Chakshu Shravah, meaning he can see through his eyes, hear through his eyes. Standing by the shore, the cows, bulls, calves, and other domestic animals from the village, as well as all the wild animals from all the forests of Rajamandal, all cried, fixing their eyes on Krishna's face and screaming in agony. Crying pitifully, the birds flew over the lake and dived into the waters. The trees and other plants became dry and withered. Many great calamities happened. Then, sent by the Lord, an old man ran to the Braja village. Crying and terribly calling out, he described what had happened. Now the old man, he was crying out, "Alas, alas, Krishna is in the grips of a terrible serpent. He is dying. He is dying. Where is Nanda Maharaj? Where is Balaram? Someone please do something immediately before it is too late." Now Mother Yashoda speaks to Rohini. "Oh dear Sister Rohini, this old man's broken words are like a thunderbolt falling on us. Come, let us run immediately to the Jamuna and try to save my son." Balaram trying to stop them. "No, no, it's a lie, please do not become so anxious. Who can trust the words of an old man?" We all know how powerful my younger brother Krishna is. Mother Rohini, you please stay here and prepare something for his lunch, and I will see what is the situation at the Jamuna. Now Rohini stays back, but Mother Yashoda and other ladies and men run towards the Jamuna. Sanatana Goswami comments on this point. The people of Raja became like the running corpses. Somehow they followed Krishna's footprints to the part of the Jamuna where the Lord's pastime was taking place. How was that possible? Surely, seeing the Lord had passed through the forest over a distance of many miles with so many thousands of cows, his footprints would have been completely obscured. But no, all the living beings in Vrindavan, including even the forest birds and bees, always carefully preserved the Lord's footprints as their greatest treasure. The very ornaments of the earth, the very ornaments of the earth, and they were never walked over by anyone. Interesting point. The Krishna's footprints are so dear to the devotees that even the forest animals, they make sure that nobody will step on the footprints of Lord Krishna. They carefully preserve. Although so many hundreds, sometimes it is described even thousands of calves and cows follow Lord Krishna, but they're so disciplined, not even one of these calves steps on Krishna's footprint. They carefully walk always around. Nice point. Then Nanda Maharaj, Mother Yashoda and the other inhabitants of Vrindavan arrived on the banks of the Jamuna and saw Krishna in the grips of the great serpent Kaliya. One thing I need, if someone has a watch, I can keep track of the time. Competition, or he was first. How long I suppose? Till 2:30. 2:30? 2:30. Where did I start? Footprints. Footprints. No. Then Nanda Maharaj, Mother Yashoda and the other inhabitants of Vrindavan arrived on the banks of the Jamuna and saw Krishna in the grips. Yeah, we read this. Yeah. Lord Balaram, seeing his younger brother in that state, could not remain peaceful. Crying in the agony of love, he lamented again and again, his cries breaking wood and stone. In a moment he fainted, as Nanda and Yashoda had already done. The inhabitants of Vrindavan rise and fall, some of them trying to enter the river to join Krishna. Balaram, standing up again, moves back and forward, stopping them from entering the water, the poisonous water. Sanatana Goswami comments, their standing up was like a dead creature which is somehow struck by a thunderbolt, and as a result rises up, only to immediately fall to the ground again. Now, what love they have for Krishna, it's just unbelievable. And that's the goal of Krishna consciousness, to reawaken our eternal love for Krishna. Now, in our material existence, that original love for Krishna is perverted in so many different ways. We're trying to project the same tendency to love Krishna on so many different objects in this world. Can never be satisfying. How can we even begin to compare? So here we have these wonderful examples. If they see Lord Krishna in that condition, now how do they feel? Like described it like dead corpses. What's the use without Krishna? There's no use of life. The body is as good as a corpse. Nothing begins to make sense anymore. Balaram talking to himself, he doesn't take pleasure in playing with me in my form as Sheshanaga, but rather he wants to play with this lowest of snakes, the mundane Pitikalia. Balaram became a little envious. He doesn't play with me in this way, but rather with this strange creature. Mother Yashoda speaks, if only Balaram had gone with Krishna this morning, then this would not have happened. That is the cause of this great tragedy. So now it's all Balaram's fault. And other old ladies, they all agreed, yes. Vishwanath Chaudhary Thakur comments, Lord Balaram did not say anything because it would have been improper to cover over the mood of the Brijbasis who were so absorbed in Krishna. And also because he was incapable of speaking. Then he laughed. They felt a little reassured, and their desire to give up their lives reduced a little bit. Nanda Maharaj speaks, look, one moment there's lightning with no clouds, the darkness comes, but it is still daytime. Then it seems to rain, but the sun is shining. What is the meaning of all these omens? Vishwanath Chaudhary Thakur comments, the presiding demigods of the different natural functions, out of affection, forgot Krishna's supreme position, and out of fear for their beloved Lord, they showed evil omens. Sanatana Goswami comments, it is not possible that the snake could have been overpowered by him. So we can understand that this is going on by his desire. I have to read this again, I didn't get it. It is not possible that the snake could have overpowered him, as the Kali overpowering Krishna. So we can understand that this is going on simply by Krishna's own sweet will. The cowherd people became overwhelmed because they could not recognize the scientific facts of the situation because of their overwhelming burden of love. Vishwanath Chaudhary Thakur comments, they felt the three worlds to be burned to ashes by the fire of separation from Krishna. Sanatana Goswami comments, in the actual text of Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Shukadeva Goswami is only revealing a little of how the Vrishvasis are feeling because of himself being overwhelmed by his own burden of sorrow. But in the Vishnu Purana, one older gopi states, that's an interesting point, and Sanatana Goswami comments he's writing, and he only explains a little bit, because he himself is being overwhelmed by what we can conclude as ecstatic symptoms of describing these pastimes of Krishna. Now we find more information in the Vishnu Purana, and one older gopi states, "It is better that all of us together with Mother Yashoda enter into this poisonous, mighty lake of the king of serpents rather than returning to Vrindavan, which is no longer appropriate for us. After all, what is the use of the day without sun, of the night without the moon, of the cows without their bull, or of Vrindavan without Krishna? Deprived of Krishna, we shall not return to Vrindavan. This forest is no longer fit to be resided in, just like a lake deprived of water. It is very amazing to us that Krishna's mother still maintains her hankering to reside along with him in Vrindavan, where that Lord Hari exhibited his complexion like that of the petals of the blue lotus. But, O wretched woman, how can we remain in the capacious, how do you pronounce it? Capacious? Pasture ground, pastures? Oh. Yeah. All the wealth of our minds has been stolen away by his most charming talks, and therefore we will not go back to the cowherd village of Nanda Maharaj without the lotus-eyed Lord Krishna.
Sorry. Would you please repeat this part to me, the pastures? I lost myself somehow. Is one before?
Yeah, I have to find it. Because I cannot pronounce properly, this is why I don't see it anymore. It's Krishna's arrangement. What is it? How can we remain here? Yes, O wretched woman, how can we remain in the pastures, without seeing Lord Hari, his eyes as shining as the petals of a full-blown lotus? All the wealth of our minds has been stolen away by his most charming talks, and therefore we will not go back to the cowherd village of Nanda Maharaj without the lotus-eyed Lord Krishna. Just see, O gopis, how even while being enveloped in the coils of the king of serpents Kaliya, Krishna is still glancing at us with his beautiful smiling face. Now Balaram speaks. Hare Krishna. Some problem? The mic doesn't work? Now it works? Now Balaram speaks. They are shedding tears in rivers, in waves. They are all indiscriminately entering the river, so how can I check them? Balaram speaks. Some I am checking with words, some with physical force, and some by glancing at them, but I cannot continue stopping them any longer. See, when I stop them, they fall unconscious, distressed at my keeping them separate from their Lord. Sanatana Goswami comments. Then everyone let out a great, painful, terrible cry that made the entire world cry also. Awakened by this great sound, Balaram, the crest jewel of the sober, with a great effort regained his peaceful composure. In a moment, Krishna's parents became conscious again. Gazing at their son and crying loudly, they began to enter the lake. But Sri Balaram forcibly stopped them with his hands. Seeing everyone fainted as if they were dead, Balaram became filled with pain. In a voice choked with emotion, he loudly called out, Krishna, Krishna,
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 Krishna, Krishna.
Oh Krishna, Krishna, these people are not your associates in Vaikuntha. They are not your monkey associates. They are not the Yadavas. They are the people of Raja. You are their own life and soul. They are dying now. Lord, I have no power to save them. They are now lifeless. O merciful Krishna, only friend of the people of Raja, please give up this pastime, or your gentle heart will become filled with grief. Crying with many words of lamentation, fainting, their bodies filled with pain, and their hearts destroyed by grief, the gopis entered the lake as if to go by the Lord's side. But at that moment, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, released himself from the crushing embrace of Kaliya. Sanatana Goswami comments, the Lord released himself on the basis of his feelings of being unable to tolerate the distress of his devotees. Leaving that pastime, freeing himself from the bondage of Kaliya's coils, and climbing on the serpent's thousands of raised extending hoods, Krishna stretched out his two lotus hands. Then bringing his gopi beloveds, Krishna climbed the very wonderful jewel pastime place of Kaliya's hoods. With a splendid singing and instrumental music, dancing with the gopis on these very wonderful dancing places, Krishna, who is an ocean of playfulness, enjoyed the wonderful happiness of the rasa dance pastime. So Krishna with the gopis were just dancing the rasa dance on the hoods of Kaliya. Sanatana Goswami comments on this point. No, first we have to say, Balaram bringing Nanda Maharaj and Mother Yashoda back to consciousness, he said, Oh Nanda Maharaj, oh Mother Yashoda, look, your son has escaped the clutches of the demon and is now easily subduing him. Now Sanatana Goswami comments, actually Nanda and the others could not see the pastimes of Lord Krishna with the gopis, all Krishna's arrangement. After subduing the serpent Kaliya, smiling Krishna forcibly took away the upper garments of the serpent's wives as they offered prayers. Making of these garments a single long rope, piercing the serpent's nose and threading it, playful Krishna held the rope in his left hand. Then Krishna, playing the flute with his right hand, rode the serpent as one rides a horse. Can you imagine? Holding the rope through his nose, playing on the flute. Come on, Kaliya, come on. This is Krishna. Sometimes prodding the serpent with his flute. Prodding, what does prodding mean? Prodding? like slapping the flute. Yes, he made the servant his carrier, showing it great mercy. Accepting the priceless jewel ornament and the garments, garlands, and fragrant ointments the servant's wives offered, Krishna placed them on Kalia's hoods. Then with many lotuses, water lilies, and other flowers, the servants' wives brought from the Jamuna, Krishna decorated both himself and the gopis. As the serpent king offered prayers with its countless mouths, Krishna emerged from the lake, making his friends and relatives dance with joy. And then from Kalia, who was very happy to have attained a very great mercy that even Garuda could not attain, very wonderful Krishna descended with the gopis, flooded with streams of tears from the happy eyes of Nanda and the others, as again and again they embraced him and offered arti to him. Krishna, after mercifully giving some instructions, sent the serpent king out of the lake. Hare Krishna. So that's the wonderful Kaliya, subduing Kaliya story. So we have a little time for some further comments or some questions if you have. If possible, of course, related to the pastime. Otherwise, any other question is welcome. Yes. What is your comment? We heard Sanatana Goswami's comment, Vishwanath Thakur's comment. What would be your comment?
It's a question. Balaram was not with Krishna that day, we can understand from the story. There were other stories when it was Balaram's birthday, I think Brahma, when he stole the cows and the cow boys. It was Balaram's birthday. Was it also Balaram's birthday, or do you know some other reason why Balaram wasn't there?
No, I don't know any. I never heard. I'm not aware of some other reason. But I'm quite sure there must be so many different in other shastras. But I'm not aware of other reasons. Krishna's pastimes are so versatile. It's amazing. I always remember this one extended story of how Krishna played with the cowherd boys. That the mood between Krishna and his cowherd friends is just so sweet, so beautiful, that they really think that Krishna, he's our friend, he's his equal. And the Brahmin cowherd boys, who were the Subal and others, they belong to the Brahmin caste, they even think they're a little bit superior to Krishna. Because Krishna, he took birth, Nanda Maharaj, who was a Vaishya king, and they're Brahmanas, they feel a little bit superior. And then they had they had some competition. We don't want to get into too many details. Competition, and somehow Krishna lost. And then the penalty was that Krishna had to carry one of the cowherd boys on his shoulders. And that, I mean, you can imagine Krishna being the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He thought, well, that's a little bit unusual. He thought to himself, I cannot do this, carry someone on my shoulder. And then he found so many excuses. He said, no, I didn't really lose, because I sincerely tried to to meet the competition, to be victorious, but I slipped on a banana peel and somehow I fell to the ground. What can be done? So he found so many excuses. And then he also mentioned, he tried to indicate to the Brahmin cowherd boys, Brahminical background, that yes, I certainly respect your decision, that you're superior to me, but you should also understand I'm also quite important. And then he referred to the Kaliya pastime. Don't you remember how I subdued this great monster? And what I did? I'm also quite important. And then they try to explain to him that you really think that you subdued Kaliya? And then one of the Brahmin cowherd boys, he mentioned, it was actually me. I started chanting very, very powerful mantras to subdue snakes. This is why Kaliya, got bewildered and released you. And then Lord Krishna, he tried to explain another pastime to show his prowess, his strength. But what about the Trinavata demon? He took me into the air and I just crushed him to the ground. And then they try to explain this is all the mercy of the demigods. The demigods, they are so compassionate that toward elderly people, the brahmanas, the children, the women, they always show their grace and mercy. Just because they showed their mercy to you, now you want to take the credit. So this way there was a whole argument back and forth, and somehow they out-argued Krishna in that particular pastime. And then Krishna, he had to accept defeat. So he bowed down and, if this is really like this, please accept my humble obeisance. Krishna bowed down. And then the cowherd boys were slapping on Krishna's back. It's okay, so don't take it so personal. Slapping Krishna on the back. They're wonderful. Any other comments or questions?
I have one question, Maharaj. Regarding our position, we are here in the material world because we are envious on Krishna's position. And as you started, Kaliya represents this envious in us.
Yes.
Does that mean that Krishna will eventually kill this anartha in us?
Krishna what?
That he will kill this anartha in our heart.
I didn't hear this.
So, will Krishna at the end kill our anartha of envious towards him in our heart?
Srila Bhaktivaibhava explains that certain anarthas are Lord Krishna, by his strength, by his mystical strength, by his desire, by his sweet will, just by surrendering to Krishna, he will, so to speak, kill or eradicate all these anarthas simply by surrendering to Krishna, following the rules and regulations, chanting Hare Krishna regularly. All these anarthas will disappear. But there are certain anarthas, the devotee himself, he has to endeavor very, very sincerely. He himself has to make that endeavor, conscious endeavor, to not commit these offenses. Of course, all the other offenses we also, but certain offenses, just by surrendering to Krishna, they disappear. Other anarthas we have to continuously, consciously endeavor and take the proper measures to prevent that these anarthas reoccur. That's also explained in detail. So envy, yes, that's the root cause of our material existence, our envy of Krishna. And these thoughts, they might even disappear at times, even in the mind of a practicing devotee, sadhaka. This thought might disappear sometimes. The beginning, we cannot even imagine, come on, in this of Krishna, but it might disappear. how is it possible that this is one personality of Lord Krishna? Since eternity, he is in control of everything. And for eternity, he will be in control of everything. How is that possible? Why Krishna? Why not someone else? Who chooses that, all these crazy questions, which can only appear in the mind of a conditioned soul, being influenced by the illusory energy of Lord Krishna. Otherwise you can never have such thoughts. Why Krishna? Well, and it's also not logical, because if you think in this way, why not someone else, then you have the same problem. Then someone else is the supreme person, you have the same problem, why him? Why not me? Same problem. Why you? So rather going in this kind of crazy, so-called logical, argumental circle, why not just accept Krishna as the Supreme Person of Godhead, and we have to surrender to Him? But these thoughts, they might reappear sometimes. How come Krishna is he's the boss, he's the Supreme, he's controlling everything. So that envy, it is very, very deep-rooted in the heart. And it can only disappear by making that voluntary decision, freedom of choice, that no, rather being envious of Krishna, I want to serve Krishna. That's my constitutional position. Let me just serve Him. Conscious service to Krishna, service to the Vaishnavas, that will gradually reduce that envious nature. I should enjoy. I want to enjoy. That pleasure is meant for me. Very deep-rooted. Even in relationships, sometimes it reappears. I want to enjoy. Why you? I want to enjoy. It's all pervading. This envious mentality is all pervading. Rather serving someone, you want to be served. Already begins when we are children. When the children are not being served and they scream and kick. Rather serving the parents. Can you imagine what a nice child, 2, 3 years old. Mother, father, how can I serve you? Are you hungry? You need something to eat? No, it's there from birth on already. I need to be served. I want to be served. Nothing wrong about it. That's natural life. And then as we grow, then that envious mentality, selfish mentality extends. So to reverse the whole process, it is difficult, not easy. But this is why we practice this sadhana bhakti, rendering service to the Vaishnavas, always feeling for the needs of others, other devotees, the people in general, all the living entities. You always see yourself as servant. I'm a servant, that's my identity, my eternal identity, I'm a servant. What to speak of those who are close to us, relatives, family members. How much more I should desire to serve them. What do you need? Something like, what can I do for you? Then we make progress when we develop this Vaishnava mentality. I want to serve. I'm caring for others. That's how a Vaishnava feels. And Srila Prabhupada, sometimes he was in tears. Seeing people loitering on the street, homeless, nothing to eat, looking in the garbage can, he was in tears, literally in tears. Thinking for why they have to suffer like this. And then when he saw that in India, we have to make sure, what was the radius, 10,000 kilometers, I forgot. He draw a radius around each temple. He said we should make sure nobody goes hungry. That gave birth to the, what is it called? Food for Life. Yeah, Food for Life program. That's the Vaishnava. What to speak of family, those who are close to us. How much more we should want to take care of them. See that they're comfortable, that they have whatever they need. So, in other words, we have to practice. Not just philosophize, practice, do it. We can start today. Go around, can I wash your socks? Something? Can I iron your dhoti, your kurta? You need a donation? No. We have to practice. And then, just like in the beginning, in a few more minutes, in the beginning when we came to Krishna consciousness, everything was just an imitation, is it not? They told us, bow down, okay, bow down. We had no idea what we were doing. But now when we bow down, after so many years, it becomes natural. It's like a natural function. You enter the temple room, you don't even think. It's natural, you bow down. Beginning you imitate it. And I have to tell the story. To close the seminar today, this nice story, I have to tell again that story of the quickly, short version. The king and the beggar. The beggar was knocking at the palace door of the king. King sent a servant. Who is it? Open the door. And there was a beggar. And the servant of the king told the king, there's a beggar, it looks like he needs some food, he wants something. And the king thought, oh, that's an opportunity to have some fun. Let him in. Then he told the servant, bring some imaginary huge plate with all kinds of foodstuffs, preparations on it, bring it to him. And then the king wanted to have fun. Let's see how the beggar will react. And then the servant, he brought this invisible plate, put it on the ground, and the king told the beggar, sit down, eat something, you see all these wonderful preparations, just eat, enjoy. So the beggar, he thought, he was humble, beggars are naturally humble, some, most. And he thought, better I play along, that game, I don't want to offend the king, I don't want to protest. And oh yeah, thank you, Majesty, you're so kind. Oh yeah, indeed, so many wonderful preparations. And then he imitated eating. And the king, he was enjoying that whole scene. And what else you want, my dear brother? Anything else? So he played along that game. And he told the king, would be nice to see some dancing ladies. So he told the servant, bring them in. And he opened some imaginary door. And these imaginary dancing ladies came in. And the beggar, he played along. Oh, he was with big eyes. Oh, beautiful, wonderful. What else you need? The beggar, he replied, would be nice maybe to have one as my wife. King said, okay, which one? And the beggar said, maybe the sixth from the left. The king told him, but there are only 5. Okay, the fifth one. This is a crazy game. And the beggar, he was so, so humble, he just played along. Didn't want to offend anyone. And then the king told the beggar at the end, now let us go to the door. And he opened the door. You see all these palaces along the roadside. You can pick any palace you like. And the beggar, well, maybe this one. King was smiling, all right, it's yours. Then the king gave him a big slap on the back and pushed him out, closed the door. So then the beggar walked away with nothing. And then after a while, the king had a change of heart. He thought to himself, what a nice person. He was so humble. I mean, he obviously knew it's a joke. But he didn't protest, he didn't say anything. He just played along. He told the servant, bring him back. So the servant opened the palace, screamed, hey, beggar, come in. No, I really had enough to eat. No, the king is calling you. All right. So he went back. And then the king told him, you're such a nice person. He obviously knew it's a joke. But because you're so humble, now I want to give you a real food. Then they brought a real plate with the real food, real prasadam. And he also got a real wife, a real palace, and he was happily living after. So such a wonderful story that just by practicing and having that, although we don't understand much at the beginning, a little bit something, all these Vaishnava etiquettes, we have no idea, you know. It's always a little bit confusing for young devotees when the other devotees tell them, don't bow down with your feet toward him or that. I remember in the old days, one of the gurus, I remember when the disciple paid obeisances in the wrong direction, and they grabbed their feet and pushed them around this direction. So we didn't understand much, but we just played along. We had that little humility of just going on without understanding much. We just practiced, continued, and we can be assured if we maintain that little humility, humbleness, to just go on, just carry on. Doesn't matter what we might think, all these ideas we have sometimes, we just carry on, go on. That one day we will get the real thing. Real Krishna consciousness, association with the eternal associates of the Lord, a real spiritual body, everything will come. So our time is over. Thank you very much for your patience. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gora Premanande.
Jai.